and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm your host, Wendy Jo Cerna, and we are jumping into the new year with the second half of Season 2. I'm convinced you're going to find exactly what you need to help you obey the call of God on your life to create the book He has given you to create. Hey, if the author and finisher of all things told you to write a book, He believes that you can. And so do I. So come on, let's write. Hello, authors, and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book. Now what? We are in episode 19 of Season 2, and today we have a multi-talented author with us who has written under several genres. Welcome to the show, Ocieanna Fleiss.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have you. We have met through Northwest Christian Writers, and Ocieanna will start with this, as she's going to be one of our workshop presenters at our conference, which is coming up on May 16th, very soon. And what are your workshops again? What are you teaching on?
Yeah, I'm teaching two workshops. One I'm really excited about is the teen track.
Right.
I'm helping with that with Nova is the other person.
Oh, okay.
Nova McVie is the other person teaching that. So there's going to be two classes for that. And I'm doing more characters, and she's doing the plotting and other things. So
yeah,
I'm super excited about that. I've taught fiction writing to young people for like 20 years or something. So it just comes pretty natural to me. So that's exciting.
yeah.
And then the other one is it's a nonfiction, how to not bore your readers. Not that nonfiction is boring, but sometimes it can just kind of be a little dry, honestly.
Right.
So I've written two nonfiction books, and so I'm going to have 10 tips on just ways to keep it more interesting and moving along and exciting.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I read a couple of your books in the last few weeks. Let's start with one of your nonfiction, because this is kind of at the crux of a lot of your world. Your memoir called Love Like There's No Tomorrow, How a Cardiac Arrest Brought My Heart to Life. Funnily enough, when I ordered this, they sent me like a large print version. I don't remember ordering a large print version. I don't need a large print, but the story is the same. It's an amazing story. It's beautifully written. And it is very heart-touching from your heart. So can we start there, Ocieanna? This is how long ago now when you had the cardiac arrest?
Let's see, like 15 years almost. I was 41. So, do the math.
You don't need to add that all up, but yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that long ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while now. Yeah. Yeah.
And how long after everything settled did you feel led to write this down in a memoir? Was it a few years, or how did that happen?
Well, having a cardiac arrest at the age of 41 is pretty life-changing. And it definitely, I was affected by my health physically, obviously, for a while, as far as having to rest and recover from that major event. They say that, well, very few people survive a cardiac arrest. And when they do survive, an even smaller percentage comes home from the hospital. Even if they survive, oftentimes their mental capacity, they're just kind of a vegetable. So that just affected me in so many ways. Emotionally, as a mom, my kids were little, and as a wife, and I had a contract for my third book at the time. We were in the middle of working on it. My co-author, Trisha Goyer, and I, and we had to ask them for an extension.
Yeah,
we needed an extension, and they were very kind to give it to us. But so then it was just kind of interesting because when I was recovering, everything just slowed down. It's like everything went into slow motion, and you you start hearing the Lord, just kind of whispering things to you, like it's more important that you like something as little as like folding socks meant more than anything
Hmm.
other all these busy things that I was doing before. It
Right.
was like just the fact that I could fold socks and my kids were sitting around me and we were folding socks together. It was like this moment of excitement and like little things like that would just kind of hit me,
Yeah.
and so just realizing that I was hearing, learning these things from the Lord that so it was about 3 years before I felt like, okay, I really want to write this book.
Yeah.
But those truths were just slowly kind of becoming known to me during that time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Because you apply a lot of the physical healing, the slowing down, the rest, but also that there was a lot of emotional heart wounds that got healed in the process of healing your physical wounds, which is, it's a very vulnerable book. I mean, you go back through a lot of things, from childhood onward, and recognizing places in your heart that needed healing. And yeah, I was very encouraged by I mean, obviously the cardiac arrest is very dramatic and uh, shocking for a 41-year-old. And I like that you opened it up with your husband's perspective. How did you decide to do that? Just because he was the one who knew what was going on in those moments, or
that's a great question. I wrote it the beginning several times, different ways, kind of from what I knew happened, because I don't have any memories from that day.
sure.
So I would kind of started it with just this is what I've been told. And then it just felt like a step away from being in the deeper heart of the story, of that part of the story, which is
Yeah.
really his story.
Yeah.
I was fine. Like, I mean, I was emotionally, I was good,
Right.
I was just, I don't remember. I wasn't
Right.
scared. I wasn't, there's no emotion to tap into there because I don't remember anything about that. So, but he obviously had, and the kids, I think, is part of that story,
Yeah.
that part too.
Yeah.
They were the ones that were so affected by it. And so it's funny because I kept asking him, so how did you feel? How
Mm.
did you feel when that happened? And he's like, yeah, it was really hard. And so I wrote it through one time, the first time through his point of view when I changed it to being in his point of view. And I go, okay, is this, what do you think? He's like, I was so much more upset than that. I'm
Uh,
like, well, you gotta
yeah.
tell me. So then we finally like were able to kind of get to the like heart of how he was really feeling. And
Yeah.
so hopefully tried to go bring that through
Yeah.
in those
It
first
definitely
chapters.
shows up. And then your oldest son, who was like his right-hand man in the middle of all that. And then it's beautiful that you
Yeah.
dedicate the book to your son, who watched his
Yeah.
mom die and
Yeah.
right in front of him. That's pretty
Yeah.
traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts of the whole book, I think, is just the part where he tells me his story.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, he saw me dying and he was so scared. So he left and he went downstairs and he just started saying memory verses that he had
Yeah.
learned in Sunday school. I just think, I don't know, that just gets me and still gets me that those things we do as parents that are just what we do as Christian
Yeah.
parents, they have an effect. And it was a blessing that I was able to see that in him.
Yeah.
And he went through some really hard years as a teenager, which isn't in the book because it was happening as the book was published. He was
Yeah.
struggling with, he's got a pretty intense story himself, but the Lord has
Mm.
just brought him through so much. And now
Yeah.
he's a pastor. So
Yeah.
Um, it's a happy ending for him.
Interesting.
He needs a
Yeah.
wife still, but
Okay. Good to know.
but if anybody
Uh,
is interested,
yeah, yeah.
no.
Okay. Well, I recently read Rees Howells' book, The Intercessor. He was a Welsh intercessor, early
Mm.
1900s through World War II. Very
Oh,
powerful, crazy story of just his beautiful, surrendered life. But one of the things he said about learning how to truly intercede for people, that there were three places that the Lord had to take you. First, you had to identify with the people and their struggle, but then you had to feel their agony. Like there's a point of
mhm.
agony that you need to get to before you reach the actual authority to pray for them all the way through to whatever it is that the Lord has for you. But I I see your story and I see, okay, your family went through an agony that is unusual. Your son went through it at a young age, a tender age. But then working through that agony, now he comes to a place of authority, even as a pastor. Like the people that he'll be able to reach and minister to because of all the tender things in his heart that had to be worked through. That's a really powerful thing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
do you have, I mean, the book was published a while ago, but you still get feedback from people who read it? What do you hear from people who read your book?
Yeah, it's such a blessing. A lot of people are just amazed by what God did,
Yeah,
you know?
it is
And
miraculous. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And, a lot of people say it's amazing what God has done in our lives after everything we went through. And
yeah,
so that's really important, I think. Yeah, but mostly it's just encouragement from people
yeah,
that they appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is a beautiful story. Love Like There's No Tomorrow. Look it up. It'll be an encouragement for you to read or to get to give to somebody who needs some encouragement to see the miraculous workings of God. It's a beautiful
yeah.
story. So let's wind back a little ways. When did you actually start writing? Because you have a few different genres. You have a series of romance books. You have a devotional. Of course, you have your memoir, but then you have a couple of cozy mysteries. So where did it start for Ocieanna Fleiss? Where did this writing journey start?
Well, I started writing when I was a kid, like
Yeah,
second grade or something, telling stories, writing stories, loved always writing stories. And I remember my teacher, I think it was second grade or third, I think third grade, had us write stories, which is so good for kids, I think, to do.
yeah.
And had a few of us get to be picked to read our story to the
Oh,
class,
mm-hmm.
and so I got to go up and do that. And my story was funny. It was a guy who would go and steal people's clothes. For a second grader, you just think that's, or third grader, think that's the most hilarious
Yeah.
thing that could ever happen. And so the kids in the class were just laughing
Oh,
as
sure.
I was reading it. And I got so much, adrenaline and dopamine, I guess, from that. Like, oh, I'm making people laugh. And I
Yeah.
loved it. And so that was really when I got kind of
Huh.
hooked on writing. And I just from then on I really wanted to be a writer and a teacher, which I've kind of gotten to do both of those things. So yeah, and then as I got older, I started writing, I would say like really taking it seriously and going to conferences and things like that in my 20s, I would
Yeah.
say. My husband got a good job for a while and in my 20s, and so I
Yeah.
stopped working. And I just started reading, writing books, going to conferences, learning. And I thought I knew what I was doing. I
Yeah.
remember going to the first conference I went to. It was the Oregon Christian Writers Conference.
Yeah.
That's what it was called back then. I think it's called Cascade now. But I went to that conference and I thought I was going to sell my book because I didn't need to really go to any classes. because I already knew everything. And what I learned at that conference was how much I didn't know
Huh.
and how far I was from being ready to be published. And
Hmm.
it was it was 12 years later that my first book was finally published.
Huh.
So it's a long, long journey.
Yeah.
It takes a long time for these things to happen.
Yeah.
I remember at one of the early conferences I went to, there is an author, I can't think of his last name right now. His first name is Jack. Anyway, he was talking about how it took him 13 years to get published, and he's got tons of books out. And I was like sitting there listening to him, and I was like, Lord, please don't let it take 13 years. Please don't let it take that long. And then 12 years later,
Huh. At least
my first book got published. So he answered my
he
prayer,
did.
but
He did.
I should have been more specific about that. But
Yes. My preferred length of time would be, wow.
uh,
Okay. Interesting. So what was that first book?
that was I co-wrote that with Trisha. That was our Love Finds You in Lonesome Prairie, Montana.
Okay. So how did you
Um,
connect with Trisha? That's an interesting thing to co-write a novel. How did you first connect with Trisha?
so we went. I was at the Mount Hermon Christian Writers
Okay.
Conference, and it was my first time going to that one. And she hadn't been published yet, just a long time ago. And I remember sitting at the table at the dinner table, and a, an editor from a publishing house. His name is Steve Lobby. He wasn't an agent then. He was an editor from Bethany House, I believe. And
Hmm.
he was just like looking at her and saying, "I just couldn't stop reading your proposal. I just wanted to keep going." And he was just so in love with her writing. And I was just like in awe of her, you know.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh. And then we ended up bumping into each other at the airport on the way home.
Hmm.
And at writers' conferences, it's very common to just be like, "Here, read my manuscript or read my chapters," you know.
Right.
And so we were just waiting for the plane to come, and we exchanged manuscripts. And I ended up editing for her,
Oh,
like her first, I think, 6 or 7 books. I can't remember.
really?
And so we just got to be friends through that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun getting to kind of see her get her first book contracts, and so exciting for her.
Yeah.
And be a part of it too, as kind of editing that. It really gave me my editing career as well.
Huh.
Um, and then she's wanted to write some books together. So she's just a very kind and giving person. She's
Hmm.
very helpful to young writers, and so still today she is. So I think that was kind of
Huh.
how come she was like, "Let me help you kind of get a step up." And
Yeah.
uh, so she, by the
Wow.
time our book came out, she had written at least 10 books, I would say.
Yeah, she's got a lot of books
And
out.
now she's written over 100, I believe. So,
Holy mackerel.
yeah,
Does the woman sleep? I mean, that's amazing.
yeah, right. I know. And she does a lot of other things too. God has really used her. So,
Yeah, that's wonderful. So and this is a series, this Finding Love in or at. There's a whole series of books beyond the three that you guys wrote. How does Is that
yeah,
true?
so it started out as Love Finds You in.
Oh, okay.
The company had this series, the publisher had this series of books. I don't know how many there were. There was there were a lot, and
Yeah.
different authors would write. And it started out as being named after interesting town names.
Yeah.
So like Lonesome Prairie and Victory Heights is our first two, and
Yeah.
I don't remember all the other names, but they were all like
Yeah.
odd names of towns. And then it kind of changed to just interesting places. Our third one isn't really an odd name; it's just Glacier Bay. But
Yeah.
um, and then that publishing house closed down, and those all went out of print. And
Hmm.
most of the authors bought the rights back. That's what we did,
Okay.
and have self-published them through different various methods of doing that. So there's like now there's I don't know, there's like Love Finds You In, there's Love Finding Love ads. There's a whole lot of different ones that originally started with those Love Finds You
Okay.
books.
Yeah, that's a process to have a publisher stop and your books are sort of in limbo. And so when they go out of business, how do you buy back your rights from them if they're not in business anymore?
Well, you just give them money.
Okay. Solves a
and
lot of
then,
problems.
and then and then you have the rights back and you can because you can't like you can't you have to redo the interiors and the
Yeah,
cover because those are all owned by the
the publishing house.
publisher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get the rights back to your words. And so we redid the cover and
Yeah.
redid the inside and
Yeah.
all of that. So,
Very cool. So you said you had an editing career too.
yeah.
So you edit fiction, nonfiction. What do you have a specialty? Are you still doing that? So many questions all at once. Editing.
I have edited for, gosh, 25 years or something.
Really?
A really,
Wow.
really long time. I think I started when I was pregnant with my daughter, so she's 24 now. So
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah. I've done every kind of editing. I've done,
Okay.
there's lots of different types of
Yeah.
editing. I've done copy editing and coaching and substantive editing and all different kinds. But I found out that I like proofreading best. It's my
Really?
favorite. Yeah, I really enjoy proofreading. I think it's because when I'm doing the more intense kind of editing, it takes more out of my creative
Yeah.
part of my brain,
Yeah.
and I
Hmm.
want to save that for my own writing.
Yeah.
And so proofreading is something that is m more kind of um, left brain, I guess,
Yeah.
where and I can do it fast and get it done, and it feels really good to get it accomplished. And yeah, I still do some proofreading here
Do
and
you?
there.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's a nice. I think editing is a nice way for authors to have a supplemental income.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because we don't always. I mean, some do, but most of us, I think, can't really make a living wage writing
Off of our
usually.
royalties. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They keep trickling in, but
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so editing is part of your story. That's great. When did you do so then you have these two little cozy mysteries that are part of what's the name of the Secrets of Wayfarers Inn. So I read one of them. I read
Oh,
Submerged Surprise.
yes.
Wow. But what I didn't know is there's like 20 some books in this series. That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
How do you
yeah.
get thrown into the middle of that mix?
Well, that is completely 100% because of my agent. So
Ah,
having a good agent can really give you those. I would never have got those contracts if it weren't for my agent. So
okay.
he gets, when so it's a work for hire. So those are different than like a regular book contract. You get royalties, you get an advance, and then you'll get royalties, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're traditionally published.
Yeah.
Um, but something like that with those guideposts, those are put out by guideposts,
Yeah.
uh, and they just pay you a an amount, and then you get paid no matter how much they sell or don't sell. That's how much you get paid.
Okay.
And so if it's sold 1 million, then I wouldn't get anything from it, but I don't really
Guideposts.
expect it to sell that many, those kinds of things because they have a Guidepost has many, many series like that
Oh, do they?
and many books in the series. So that's kind of what they do, or one of the things they do is keep putting out these series for their
Yeah.
readership that loves those kinds of cozy mysteries.
Yeah.
So
But how did you prepare to write? Because so I'm reading it. I'm like, there's a whole world here I know nothing about. Like there's a lot of cast of characters. It's like a whole town
Mhm,
of people
mhm,
that I felt I got
mhm,
kind of thrown in the middle of it. Okay, I figured out who the main
mhm,
characters are and what the main mystery is, but all these side characters are there that I'm sure have their own stories somewhere along
mhm.
the line of the series. So how do you prep for that when you are writing part of this? Do you have to go back and read a bunch of stuff or how do you do that?
Oh, I love this. It was so fun because there was a Facebook group
Okay.
of all the authors.
Ah,
And if somebody had a question like, can somebody tell me who this guy is, or
yeah,
what's the name of the police officer, or whatever,
right.
then somebody would be like, oh yeah, or like, where does the stove go in the kitchen? Things like
Yeah.
that. And somebody made a like a graphic picture of the house of the inn because it's in an inn and the town and so that was really fun. And kind of got to know the other authors that way. And they also have a really amazing editors that keep updating like a file that
Okay.
is like, okay, so this person's now dating this person, or
Okay.
this person has like
Yeah.
this person's grandma died or whatever. And so you can kind of go through that. They have a whole process for it. And you also get the books as they are published. They're sent to you.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you can keep up to reading them too
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, it was an interesting learning curve to do that. And I thought, man, I
Yeah.
would not want to be that editor that had to
Right.
go through and all the details. But she was amazing. It was really a gift. So
Yeah. That's cool. And you
yeah,
have two of them in the series. Are they
yeah.
sequential or are they in different, no, different
No,
times?
yeah, they're different parts of the story. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't read this next one yet, so
Yeah.
give me a minute. Wow, but that was
Yeah.
fun to read. It is a cozy mystery. It is,
Mhm.
I mean, it's very clean, but it's very sharp and witty and
Mhm.
fun and
Yeah.
yeah, with a little bit of what's going intrigue going on there. So then,
Yeah.
okay, so you've written romance, you've written cozy mysteries, and then you did this beautiful book, and it's beautiful just on the cover. I haven't opened it up yet. Awaiting
Mm.
the Manger, Whispers of Advent in the Old Testament, which is a devotional.
Yeah.
How did you come to what inspired that?
Well, I think that changing all these genres is it's just because I'm want to be hard on myself. Just
Okay, I see.
writing those cozy mysteries was very difficult because I had never written, I didn't even really read mysteries before
Ah,
that. So, I had to totally learn a new way to write,
yeah.
totally different than a romance
Yeah.
novel. And writing the memoir was completely different than writing the romance novels. And so then I'm like, hey, how about if I write it?
Something else. Yeah.
Like, how hard can it be? But I had been teaching Bible at our homeschool co-op for along with writing fiction,
Yeah.
teaching fiction for like 20 years or
Okay.
so. And I had created my own curriculum for
Mm-hmm.
that. And as I had over the years, as I was studying the Old Testament, so I really love the model of teaching that really starts in, well, one place it starts is from the road to Emmaus, when
Mm.
Jesus, after his resurrection,
Mm-hmm.
is walking to with these two guys on the road, and toward the end of that story, it says that he, starting with Moses and the prophets, he told the story of the Bible about himself, that he was
Yeah.
in all of those stories. And that just got my imagination going. And
Mm.
I love looking at the Old Testament through that lens of like, well,
Yeah.
where is Jesus here, And what is pointing us to him in this section or this section? And I had been doing that through teaching many years.
Mhm.
And as I was doing that, every so often I'd be like, that just reminds me of, Advent. That reminds me of his birth. And
Mm.
why is that there? And I kind of had a list of things that in the Old Testament that pointed to Advent and his first coming. And so it was kind of like, many years of of just slowly learning those
Yeah.
things. And then I thought, well, I could write a blog about this. And so I wrote a blog, a series of blog posts about that. And then thought, oh, it'd be kind of cool to make a little book about this, maybe like a dollar download or something like that. And then I was kind of trying to work on that, and it started getting to where I was loving it more,
Hmm.
and it felt more like artistic, and it felt more important, of a message to be getting out. And so I started just putting so much into it that I thought, well, I'm gonna at least share this, make a proposal and share it with my
Yeah.
agent. And he liked it. And so
Ah.
and so he was able to sell it to Harvest House, and they published it, and they just did an amazing, beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful job on
it's really pretty just to look at.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it just came out of your normal life every day, what you were already doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it did. And I'll have to say, like, even just thinking about the stories in there, it goes through so many of these Old Testament stories of these women, a lot of women, it's not only women, but a lot of like, there's Hagar and there's Sarah and there's Leah and Moses's mother and there's Samson's mother, which is so amazing. It points right to
Hmm.
Christ. It's just amazing. And I talk about Naomi,
Yeah.
um, more,
More than
most
Ruth.
people talk
Yeah.
about Ruth, yeah,
Yeah.
but Naomi, I love Mara, she's like, call me
Yeah.
bitter,
Exactly.
I
I'm
just love,
done. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not pleasant, I'm bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just, it's so good. And so it's just such a joy to, even now, to think about those characters
Yeah.
in the Old Testament and how it's just a blessing to think about how the Lord took care of them in their brokenness, and
Yeah.
in a lot of times in their grief over
Mhm.
not having a child. A lot of the stories are that, but there's just lots of different ways that God shows us his plan. His
Yeah.
plan to send Christ was so, like, before the beginning. The
Yeah.
the first chapter, I think, is called Before the Beginning.
Huh.
And before the world was created, he had this plan to send
Yeah.
Jesus. And we just see it all through the Old Testament, and it's just encouraging.
It is. I often wonder, like, okay, I think weird things sometimes, but okay, so you came in the year that you came in, but what about all those people that lived prior to the birth of Christ? What was the plan for their redemption and their purposes prior to Christ? Like, why'd you wait
Mm.
so long after the fall? There's a lot of thousands of years between the fall and the coming of Christ. Why did you have to wait so long? And what about all those history? What about all those stories? What about all those crazy cast of characters that they still found the sweet redemption of Christ even before he showed up on the scene? I mean, it's a wild thought. I don't know. I don't have answers to that. I'm just throwing it out there. You can write the next book if you figure it out. Let me know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think
Just
that the mystery of God is a mystery.
yeah,
We don't always know the answer, but we know that even in Genesis 3:15, you have the first gospel, where after the fall, we hear that there's a savior coming who will crush the serpent's
right.
head. The
Yeah.
seed of the woman will crush the serpent's head, and he will also be wounded. And that story of the gospel, just, I don't know, it's just so beautiful the way. I don't know why he took so long and why he didn't
Yeah.
just send him immediately, but I do think it paints such an amazing picture of who God is and how he works in history, and how he works in our own lives too,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we can look at those stories, we can look at Leah and be like, okay, so she wasn't
Right.
loved by her husband,
Yeah.
you know. Her husband didn't want her, and she had droopy eyes, and she was. wanting to be loved so much. And you look at the names of her children, and she's like naming them, please let my husband love me, or maybe he'll love me if I have a son, and like
Yeah.
these different, now he will love me. Like,
Mm,
and then the last one that she had was Judah, and his name means now I will praise the Lord.
yeah.
And just how it's like she came to understand that she doesn't need the love of Jacob because
Mm,
she has the love of God who
yeah.
is always there, and she can praise him. And then Judah obviously becomes the
Right.
the king, where the kings come
Yeah.
from, the tribe that the king David came from, and then of course Jesus came from that tribe as well.
Yeah.
So um,
The
I don't
Lion
know.
of the
It's
tribe of
God's
Judah. Yeah.
creativity. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, his plans
So
are beyond tracing out. I know that they don't fit in my brain, but I like to think about him. I like to
yeah.
blow my own mind about how good. Like I thought, so here's the thing. We had an immune system built into our bodies before our bodies needed an immune system. Like in the garden, there was no sickness, there was no death, there was no illness. Then the fall comes. They still they live for like 900 years, a lot of those folks after the fall comes. So so there was like a plan in place prior to us even needing the plan. I guess is what I'm saying. Like our bodies are
Mhm.
made to heal themselves before we even needed healing. Like what who does that? Somebody who can see the end from the beginning. He's very his plans, yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's very
Yeah,
good.
that's interesting.
I know. I think, like I said, I think about interesting stuff. That's why I write fiction, because then nobody cares if it's truth or not. Just like, just, I try to implement truth. Absolutely. All right, let's get back to questions. Questions to ask Oceana about her writing. So you've published everything traditionally up to this point. You have plans, I hear, for something else coming out soon. But was that just the route that was open to you, or that's the route you chose? Your first book is published quite a while ago, so before there was a lot of indie publishing. So
Mhm.
is that just what you knew to do, or what was presented to you at conferences, or why traditional publishing?
Um, yeah, I think it was mostly just because it was the only option open. I mean, you could self-publish back then, but it's like $40,000
Yeah,
do,
right,
to do that. And you would get, a whole bunch of books to keep in your garage. There was no print on demand.
right.
Um,
Yeah, big
and there was
difference.
no ebooks, so it wasn't really, it was like, even if you did have $40,000 to do that, how are you gonna sell all these books? I mean, drive around to bookstores, I think, because there were more bookstores back then, but that just
Yeah,
it wasn't something I wanted, honestly. I wanted the affirmation and the kind of somebody telling me that my book was good and ready to be
yeah,
published.
yeah, that's
I,
good.
I wanted that. I didn't want to depend on myself to say this is what I want to publish. I wanted something that I could trust, that somebody saw enough in it to
Yeah,
put in the effort.
yeah,
And they put in a lot of money when you publish a book, when they publish it for you.
yeah,
So I kind of just wanted that. It was the dream,
yeah.
was to be published in that way too. And so, and
Do you
then
have the same agent that you've always had?
no,
Okay.
no, I changed agents. I've had this agent for I don't know how long. Gosh, probably like 10 years.
Wow. So how
Yeah.
did you connect with your agents? Through conferences or through word of mouth? How did you make those connections?
That's the thing about all this stuff, like writing, getting like meeting Trisha felt like a God,
Yeah.
thing. And mm, going to conferences is such an important part of this whole process. So my first agent I met through Trisha,
Okay.
and then my second agent I met through another person that I knew at a conference, and he recommended him to me. And so I just think it's like a lot of times people trying to get agents, it really is so much about who you know, and making relationship with people,
Mm,
getting
yeah.
to know people, and being working hard on your craft as well. But I just think that relationships are so
Mm,
important, and loving people, caring about people, getting to know who they are as a person, not just what they can do for you.
yeah, that's
Um,
good.
when you're at a conference,
Hmm.
getting to care about who they are as a person, getting to know other people. I've really seen lots of authors, so many Christian authors are so generous with their time. I remember at
Yeah.
NCWA, Agnes Lawless was one of the early, she'd been there forever when I was there, and she passed away now, but I called her on the phone and was like, "Can you help me? I don't understand what I'm doing." And she was so very kind
Mm,
and answered all my questions. And I was young and didn't know anything, but I think that, especially in the Christian market,
yeah.
there's just so much giving and ability to learn from those
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah. Relationships.
yeah.
We should be different. I mean, I would hope that the Christian writing world is different than the other writing world, as it were. We should operate differently. We have a different spirit about us, hopefully.
I
Um,
don't know. I haven't really been involved in the secular publishing world, so I don't really know, but I can speak for the Christian
yeah.
world being very welcoming.
Yeah. And so I hear a common thread through a lot of what you're talking about is conferences have been a cornerstone for you in the last
Mhm.
20 plus years of going consistently to different and various conferences.
Mhm.
So what so is it about just the relationships you build? Is it what's your favorite thing about going to conferences?
Well, now that I've been around a while, it's my favorite part is seeing people, that
Yeah.
you don't always get to see. Everybody comes together and there's so much joy and love and hugging and laughing and things like that. But so it's good just for that, just for hanging out,
Yeah.
talking to people. It's so fun. But I mean that, yeah, there's so much benefit other than just that. You get teaching, like, yeah, especially early, I learned how to be a writer from going to conferences
Hmm.
and NCWA as well, Northwest Christian Writers Association. Yeah, I mean, I I didn't finish college. When I decided I wanted to be a writer, I thought about going back to college to university, but I thought taking writing classes in college, I think you would learn a different style of writing than I was really interested in writing, kind
Hmm.
of more literary fiction and stuff. And at least that's what I had understood at the time. And so I thought, well, is there another way I can do this? And
Yeah.
so I went to the library and got some writing books, and then I went to conferences, and that's how I learned how to write. So I think it's invaluable for that.
Yeah.
It's just so, so amazing. And then also, like I said, the connections and networking, meeting people that know other people and all of
Yeah.
that. It's just kind of the way God puts people together,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, do you have any particular scriptures in your toolbox that you rely on when you get to a place of I'm stuck in writing or I'm not feeling inspired in writing or how do you have any scriptures that you go back to over and over again?
Um, yeah, I do. And this one has come back over and over all the time, still every day. It's without me you can do nothing.
Ah,
I think it's John 14 or 15.
yeah,
I always
somewhere
get
right
those
in
two
there.
chapters mixed up.
Yeah.
I'm the vine, you're the branches,
Mm, 15. Yeah.
without me, you can do nothing. And I just know that I can't do this without him. And that just makes me fall on my face before him and just give up.
Hmm.
And then he's there. I remember when I was writing my first book, Lonesome Prairie, Love Finds You in Lonesome Prairie. And we only had 4 months to write that whole book from the time we had the title to the time we had to turn it in.
Wow.
And because because somebody else was going to write it and they backed out, and so we got in. And and it was my first book I'd ever written. And really, I was doing most of the like research and writing, and I would send it to Trisha, and she would like edit it and tell me what to add and stuff like that. And so it was just so hard. And I remember this one day I was exhausted and I had a migraine and my brain was like in this migraine like hangover that you get. And I was just it was impossible to get it done. It just seemed
Mm.
impossible. And just crying out to God. And there was this one piece of research of history that I needed, and I couldn't find it. And I just, Lord, just let it show up when I search for Google. When I Google it, please just
Yeah.
let it show up. And just crying out to God. And and he did, and he came through every time, every time he always came through. And I felt like it was like I was walking in the through a through the fog in like maybe a mountain trail that was completely foggy. And if I did, and he would just let me see the next step, the next
Yeah.
step, the next step. And so yeah, so that's really been a lot. I have a lot of stories like that
Hmm.
actually, where you're just like you want to give up. It's hard. Writing is not easy. It is exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. It's like a different ways of emotion. It's a terrifying to send your stuff to your agent or to, an editor. It's terrifying to get it send it to your critique group.
Yeah.
Everything is so scary, and there's so many rejections. And the writing itself, like writing a memoir, is just it's like Mary Demuth once told me that it's like finding the deepest scabs in your heart and just ripping them open,
Yeah.
which is a memoir is very painful and it's hard, and we just really need the Lord. Another thing about that I found is that Johann Sebastian Bach. A lot of people know that at the end of his manuscripts, he would write SDG, which means Soli Deo
Solely did
Gloria,
good. Yeah.
God alone be the glory. But what I didn't know was at the beginning of them, he would write JJ, which means Jesu Juva, which means Jesus help me.
Hmm.
And I've kind of taken that on, and you should see my notebooks of research and stuff. There'd just be JJ's like all over the place. Help me, Jesus help
Yeah.
me. And I just think that's so cool that at the beginning he says, Jesus help me. And then when he's done with this amazing thing, to God alone be the glory. I just think it's amazing. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
he did some good work.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. Long lasting, I'd say. It has
Yeah.
endured.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has endured. Okay, well here we go. We got to wrap this up, Oceana. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate all that you have walked through and continue to do. Do you have any last minute things you want to add? Any tips or advice or things you'd say to young authors that are just starting out? I know you love working with the teens. Um, Anything in
Mhm.
particular you'd say to encourage them?
I think just what I said about trusting, keeping your eyes on Jesus and finding your hope in him.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be so easy to be discouraged, but remembering that he's with us, he's sitting next to us as we have our fingers on the keyboard and trusting in him.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's a perfect place to end. So
Yeah.
let me just remind our audience of a couple of your books. Of course, your memoir, which I greatly recommend, highly recommend, Love Like There's No Tomorrow, How a Cardiac Arrest Brought My Heart to Life. And then you have your cozy mysteries, The Wayfarer Inns, and you have the Finding Love at various places. There's lots of places to find love, evidently, with Trisha Goyer. And then your beautiful Advent devotional, which I'm going to pick up this year for a few gifts, I think, to give away and keep one for myself, mind you. So, with that, please sign up. If you haven't signed up already for the Northwest Christian Writers Conference, which is one day only, May 16th, Ocieanna is going to be there teaching a couple different conference workshops. It's going to be a really a powerful time. So,
Can I
um,
just say that my website has my books on it, and you can get the Love Find You. I mean, not Love, Love Like There's No Tomorrow and Away in the Manger. You can get them signed from me if you go through my
oh,
website. So,
okay.
Ocieanna.com. It's just OCIEANNA.com. If you want
Oceana.com.
to.
Yeah. Okay. Best place to buy books. Go there. You can get her to sign it. Wonderful. It'll be worth a lot in another century, hopefully.
Maybe.
Like Johann, it's going to be work that endures. Absolutely. All right, listeners, thank you so much for listening once again. I hope you find something in the midst of all this conversation that encourages you to keep moving on the journey that the Lord has set in front of you. As always, I love and appreciate you. Blessings and peace. Shalom, shalom.